And joining us now, the Commissioner of the New York City Police Department, Bill Bratton, and Executive Director of the Police Executive Research Forum, Chuck Wexler. They are both helping lead a conference this week that includes the police chiefs of major cities from across the country. This is the first time the group has met in New York City. Good to have you both on board.
Good to be here.
Prevailing issue that you think will be topic number one this weekend?
Well, this morning we're going to have a presentation on use of force de-escalation techniques. PERF has been leading the charge on that. It's recently issued a report with guidelines, so Chuck will be leading that discussion. But other items this week have been the heroin crisis that's growing exponentially even as we sit here. Issues of race certainly at this time in America. We've also been dealing with difficulties of recruiting police. Many departments have that difficulty, and also the issue of crime, that it has come back big time in many cities. And
within those issues, Chuck, the use of body cameras, resources, getting resources to police departments. Where are we on that, and do you see that as a big topic, the use of body cameras?
I think all those issues fit together. I think this time in policing is unlike any other time we've seen probably in the last 20 years. I think this is, you're going to see major changes in terms of technology, what NYPD is doing in technology, body cameras, use of force, police talking about the sanctity of human life. On the one hand, police officers using Narcan to save lives, and on the other hand, trying to find ways to de-escalate situations. So I think this is an important moment in policing. We haven't seen these kind of changes in 20 years.
Mike.
Let me ask the both of you. Attorney General Comey mentioned the Ferguson effect several times, a couple of times, most recently about a week ago. The slowing down of the police process, cops getting out of their cars, the Ferguson effect, and the impact of cell phone cameras on police activity. What is your view? Has there been, given human nature, is there a slowdown in terms of the policing process, the Ferguson effect?
There is an anxiety level, and that's what the director was referring to, that officers now understand that when they get out of a vehicle, attempt to engage in an enforcement action, very frequently they're going to do it with a group of people, a group of individuals that'll have cameras out videotaping everything they're doing. The concern is if that then goes beyond the line of just videotaping and then interfering with the arrest, it raises the anxiety level.
What do you think? What do you think it has? Is it an impact in New York City?
It really has not. That our crime numbers continue to go down. Our officers are still out there very actively engaged. We have been consciously seeking to pull back policing in this city in the sense of our stop, question, frisk reductions, changes in our marijuana, summons, arrest policies. So that it's hard to measure because we're consciously pulling them back in some respects from action that they would have taken years ago, that we're in some respects de-escalating as the crime situation has gotten better in New York City. It doesn't require the same assertive level of policing we had in the 90s when crime was rising exponentially, disorder was everywhere. It's a very different city, and discussions over the last several days indicate that every American city is like a medical situation, a different patient.
Right.
They're all having different experiences.
Well, and just to add to that, I think, you've got 18,000 police departments. But I don't think you can step away from the fact when you look at cities like Chicago, what happened a month after that situation, homicides went way up. Baltimore, a month after Freddie Grace and the disturbances, it went up. St. Louis, it went up. I think there may be a short-term impact, but I think after a while it levels off. And in some cities there isn't any impact. But it's hard, with 18,000 cities, but I don't think you can step away from the fact that in some circumstances and some cities, like Baltimore, it has an impact.
Absolutely. Michael Steele, from Baltimore, actually, is at the flash cam with a question. Michael.
Yeah, a big part of policing that I think has largely gone untested in this new landscape post-Ferguson is community policing. What role and what emphasis are you planning to place on that to sort of help police in the communities, the relationship between the police and the members of that community? There is not this sense that these are strangers, the way the police look at the community and the way the community look at the police.
The regaining of trust, or legitimacy as we call it, is an essential component of moving forward. There always will be short-term effects after crises such as Ferguson or what we had here in New York, Staten Island, the Garner matter, or the murder of my two detectives, Ramos and Lou. But going forward, it is the idea of how do we gain trust. We regain it where we've lost it, gain it where we've never had it. So in New York City specifically, that a major part of our whole redesign of our policing strategies here is based on the rebuilding of trust and trying to get it back where we had lost it.
And you look at it like Baltimore, for example, West Baltimore. That's where, you know, the commander there, Cherie Briscoe, her job is to try to rebuild trust. I mean, you have 6 officers on trial. Every situation is different, but her job is to rebuild trust in West Baltimore, and they're doing it. So, I mean, you can't get away. Community policing is still significantly important, especially with body cameras, too. Body cameras are technology, but the human factor is very important, and that's where community policing comes in.
Part of that, and kind of this is a big issue in New York City, is this decriminalization issue of quality of life. Wall Street Journal has a piece called Back to the Future New York, and talks about offenses such as littering, drinking, urinating in public, loitering in parks, again becoming decriminalized. Are you concerned your efforts will backtrack?
Not at all. Inasmuch as back in the 90s, I'm the, if you will, the designer of the strategies with Mayor Giuliani to take back the city from the chaos of the 70s and 80s, where quality of life and violent crime were an everyday experience for every New Yorker. It's a different city 20 years later. So like a patient being treated for cancer, after you cure the cancer, you don't keep hitting them with radiation and chemo. You pull back on it. That's what we're effectively doing. This city, murders this year versus 2,200 back in 1990. Yes. Quality of life has improved dramatically. Anybody knows this stuff, it's me. I'm the one that designed it in 1990. I'm the one that's designing it now with Mayor de Blasio. And we will watch carefully to see if it starts to come back. We are fully prepared to step back in. Because you use the term decriminalization, but we have not. The police still have the right to make an arrest in these matters using their discretion. So that's very critically important. It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. If you're engaging in it and engaging it in a way that subject to an arrest, we'll make the arrest. But
Mike,
let's pull back for a while.
One quick question before we go. Does any other city in the world have an acutely sensitive intelligence unit, as does the New York City Police Department? And have other cities in this country tried to adapt some of your techniques? I
can speak about New York and L.A. In L.A., during my time with John Miller, coincidentally, the 7 years there, we were modeling a lot of what we did after what New York was doing, and we had roughly the same number of officers proportionally assigned to that function. But you're correct, Michael, that nobody does it as well in America as New York because of the special sensitivity, 9/11. We have worked very hard to have seamless relationships with the feds because they can't do it alone, we can't do it alone, but together we can do a lot. And what we've done over the past 15 years, Commissioner Kelly before me, now during my time, we've kept the city safe against terrorism, and we're going to continue to prioritize that.
Commissioner Bill Bratton.